It's Excalibur time, baby! However, before we get there, we have to go through X Factor first. Yeah, this week's going to be split between the two aforementioned comic runs. X Factor with issues 27 through 32 and Annual 3, and Excalibur with Excalibur Special Edition and issues 1 through 5, both of which together comprise the final 23 issues before Inferno begins. Like I mentioned, we're going to start with X Factor, as for the most part, it's just continuing off of what was already established at the end of Fall of the Mutants. There is an arc here that Bobby and Hank deal with, while Jean and Scott look for information on his son, but about half of these issues are just one-off plots. Now, despite how that may sound, I'm actually pretty happy about that. It gives us and the characters some time to breathe between events, and also lets us live with and explore these characters a bit more. It is something that I feel like is missing in a lot of modern media and storytelling, and even when it isn't missing, I feel like a lot of people just skip over it or dismiss it as filler or unnecessary because it doesn't move the plot forward. I think this type of break in storytelling is especially important now, right after a big event like Fall of the Mutants, where the X-Men, the group that connects all the other mutant groups together, seemingly dies. Seeing how these characters react and deal with that gives us a look at how they might deal with something similar in the future, and how their outlook on life might change as a whole. Scott and Jean are obviously the main focuses of this emotional beat, which makes a lot of sense since they were the ones that had the biggest connection to that team, and not to mention Scott's brother and wife were among the victims. But that doesn't mean we don't get stuff from Bobby and Hank, although Hank is a little dumbed down right now. I'm sure if he was at full capacity, we might have something better for him, but still, it's nice that we got what we got with the characters. What I found the most interesting is Scott, as, well, he is super broken up about Maddie, who he already thought was dead, but wasn't, and now is for real, and wants to find her son. We do also get a little snippet of his feelings about Alex's demise, or I guess his lack of feelings, because he doesn't really feel anything. Jean, on the other hand, goes to see her parents for the first time since she got revived, which is very neat. We do get a little bit of a follow-up on her sister, who is still missing. Her parents don't know where she is, and neither does Jean still. But it's nice that it's not kind of fallen to the wayside and forgotten about. I'm sure that'll come up later. And while we're still on the topic of Scott and Jean, we do also see them 2v8 the entire Freedom Force. They're just that good. Meanwhile, while Scott and Jean are dealing with that, a woman named Infectia, who really likes the color green, wants to ship the X Factor, now currently called home, and since turning normal people into monsters isn't working, as they just disintegrate after a while, she sets her sights on Iceman, hoping that her power to transform and control those she kisses will affect mutants differently than humans. And as we see when she accidentally kisses Beast, it might? It's kind of hard to nail down if it would or not, because Hank's kind of in a coma now, and we do see him turning back into Blue Beast for a panel, but he is also sick from pestilence and has all those chemicals from Artie's dad that made him human again, so he may not be the best test subject for her power set on mutants. That said, I think we can all kind of figure out what's going to happen to Beast, especially based on the cover of the next issue. A few other notable things that happen across these small batch of X Factor issues. We have Angel going through the old Worthington factories and company locations looking for Candy, the woman, not the food. We have the ship attacking X Factor and when stopped, revealing its sentience. And the team getting attacked by a group of aliens posing as the Avengers because they want revenge on Thor. I don't know why they didn't just attack Thor and the Avengers first, because now they can't. So, good job, dipshits. I guess I should also talk about X Factor Annual 3, which, as I've stated in a previous video, is the start of the Evolutionary War annual event. And I've already covered the New Mutants one last week and the Uncanny X-Men one the week before. kind of covering this out of order, but it's fine. This time, Herbert here has his goons genociding Moloids until a mutant one speaks out in a psychic pulse that alerts X Factor, who come to the rescue. All the while, Apocalypse is having a back and forth about evolution with Mr. Evolutionary. Well, they kick the shit out of each other. It's fine. It's better than the last X Factor annual for sure, but about on par with the other two main stories from the other two annuals in this event that we've covered. So, no big changes here. Kind of what I expected, honestly. We do also get the kids finding a photo album and explaining the past of the X Factor members. We even get mentions of both champions and defenders, which is neat. This does kind of set up Exterminators, which is a miniseries following these kids that's set during Inferno, and so we'll get there when we get there. And I know I did rag on the last X Factor annual for being too referential, but in this one I think it's fine. The whole point is to kind of track the past of the X Factor members, the original X-Men. So it's fine. I like it a lot more than whatever was in X Factor Annual 2. The third story can fuck off. I don't care about Herbert's origin story, so bye. With X Factor covered, let's move on to the second of the two books, Excalibur. This book brings together X-Men, Shadowcat and Nightcrawler, British superheroes Captain Britain and his wife, Megan, and Rachel Summers. I guess could also be put in the X-Men. Either way, brings them together as a team of heroes, taking up and continuing the fight for mutant rights that Xavier started. Which is very similar to how X Factor started, if I'm being honest. But they probably can't do much worse than how X Factor decided to live up to that legacy, even if they are located in Britain. Before I started it, I was really excited for this book. I've only heard good things about it up to this point, and so I'm happy to say that it doesn't disappoint. Now, I did only read 6 issues total, with Excalibur Special Edition and Excalibur 1 through 5, which isn't a large enough grouping to extend that praise to the rest of its 126 issue run, but it is a very nice sampler and does make me very excited to read more. I can also tell by these few issues that this book will get weird. I mean, we immediately start out by introducing a team of mercenaries from Captain Britain lore named TechNet, who are just the weirdest fuckers you've ever seen on a team. And we also get the War Wolves, which come from Mojo World, looking for Rachel. So yeah, just back-to-back weird as fuck villains. And on top of that, within these 6 issues, we get 2 flavors of body transformation, people getting turned into skin suits, and mind swapping. Now, I know Claremont's always gotten kind of weird sometimes with his books and his writing and what he includes in those stories, but this is usually kept to the annuals, with the exception of the Shadow King arc and New Mutants. However, here the weirdness is front and center and right from the jump, and I can imagine it will only continue, so this very well may turn into a writer's barely disguised fetish, the comic book. Maybe. I'm making assumptions based on what's been presented to me, but I guess we'll wait and find out and if I'm wrong or not. Outside of the previously mentioned Warwolves and Mercenary Group as antagonists, we do also get a moving issue with surprise guest Juggernaut, and a pair of arcade issues, because of course this fucking Troll's back. Why wouldn't he be? That said, he does get a taste of his own medicine this time, which is appreciated. Thank you, Catherine Pride. Now, despite these kind of simple plots, the real meat and potatoes of this book, like most Claremont books, are the characters. I mean, I forgot how much fun Kitty and Kurt are, with them having not been around in Uncanny for a while, and I appreciate how much of Pride's seemingly often forgot history we get here. The multiple mentions to the late Doug Ramsey, who I kind of forgot she was best friends with before he even joined New Mutants, and seeing her tinkering with tech is also really nice, because we usually only really see that if she's fixing Cerebro, But regardless, it's nice to see these two back on a team and being superheroes again. Rachel's a nice addition as well. I will admit, though, she's been gone for so long that I kind of forgot about her. But it's nice to have her back. Her personality and powers really round out the rest of the team. However, I was surprised we didn't really get any of her escape from Mojo World, or Mojo himself for that matter. We obviously get mentioned to her time there, but I'm left wondering if that escape will be part of a larger plot point later, or maybe it just doesn't matter how she got out, and her being put into Mojo World was just a way to write her out of the story of Uncanny and bring in Psylocke. Speaking of Psylocke, we have Brian and his wife, I think, Megan. They call her his wife, but he doesn't really act like she's his wife. Brian has some issues, especially now that Betsy's apparently dead. That said, I'm excited to get to know these characters a bit more. Thus far, they've only really appeared in a couple of annuals in the past, and those annuals haven't really given us a lot of characterization for them. Hell, I didn't even know Megan had powers or was some sort of alien until this book. And before you start, yes, I know Captain Britain had the solos and team-up runs, but I didn't read them, now did I? I'm just going off of what I've been given, and it's this book and, like, the 2 annuals she's been in. But so far, I really like this team. It's a fun grouping of characters, especially ones we haven't seen in a while, or really at all, and combined with Claremont's weirdness, I think this is going to be for an old-timer, especially considering what I've heard. Since Excalibur Special Edition is a one-off, it gets immediately included into the rankings of finished series, and it gets an 8, which puts it with The New Mutants, the graphic novel, Phoenix the Untold Story, and Magic Volume 1. The main Excalibur book is also sitting in the same spot, but I don't imagine it'll stay there, considering there are 121 more issues to rank and read. Wait. Read and rank. That's the one. So next week, we'll probably be late, I'll be honest, because as I've been teasing, not really teasing, but telling you, it's Inferno next week. And that's like double the usual amount of comics I cover in a week at 23. And that's across X Factor, New Mutants, Uncanny X-Men, Excalibur, and the X-Terminators mini I mentioned. So I guess like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you when I see you with that one.